Opposition leaders said today that the victory Saddam promised turned out to be a humiliation, a destruction of the economy and a defeat of the army. As the world ponders Saddam's future, the people of Iraq ponder their own. NBC's Tom Aspel is in Baghdad.
Since early morning, there have been mixed emotions here. People are happy that the ceasefire means an end to the killing, but they are anxious about their future.
If there was ever a day to make a brand new start in life here, today was it. A little happiness is going to have to go a long way around here from now on. Most people are depressed. There's a feeling of relief that the war is over, but there is bitterness too. Iraq's adventure in Kuwait has cost this country its place in the Arab world, although Baghdad radio and the daily newspapers are claiming a victory.
The ruling Ba'ath Party newspaper Al Thawra called it a great Arab achievement. A front-page editorial said Iraq's power remains intact. A commentary on Baghdad radio said victory is not how many tanks or planes we or the enemy used. Victory is the face which you acquire in the history books.
That face the newspapers talked about was nowhere to be seen here today.
I don't think our army suffer as much as our people. Our people suffer a lot.
For what? For what? For nothing.
The cost to Iraq in dollars and deaths probably won't be counted for a long time. But there's little doubt that the country is shattered, bombed to a total standstill. Everyone here knows it. Tonight, as darkness fell, Baghdad was lit once more by tracers and flares, but this time it wasn't to ward off attacking warplanes. It was a celebration of sorts, of a peace of sorts.
There are still details, prisoner exchanges, compensation, recrimination, but Iraq's first priority is to rebuild this country. Tom Aspel, NBC News, Baghdad.
The sands of Iraq and Kuwait are littered with thousands of tanks and pieces of armor destroyed by new high-tech weapons used in battle for the first time. Experts say these weapons, fired from planes, from tanks, and from helicopters, made history in Operation Desert Storm, and that they will change the very nature of warfare.
We could have won the war without high-tech weaponry, but we could not have won it with so few casualties and in such a short amount of time. Literally tens of thousands of Americans probably owe their health or their lives to these weapons.
Before the war with Iraq, dozens of bombs or shells had to be released to try to destroy any target. Predictions that aerial or naval bombardment would lessen enemy resistance often proved wrong. During World War II, Allied planes and ships bombed the island of Iwo Jima for 74 days, but the Marines who went ashore still suffered enormous casualties. But Desert Storm saw the first large-scale use of laser-guided smart weapons that often destroy a target with the first shot. With these weapons, an airplane, tank, or helicopter crew member locates the target in a rangefinder. This shines a laser beam on the target. Guidance systems on the bomb or missile lock in on that laser beam to hit the target precisely. Many of the weapons used against the Iraqis functioned as well in the dark or through smoke as they did in bright sunshine. Most of the new weapons were built in the 80s at great cost.
What this campaign shows that these weapons can work on the battlefield. We've had many critics in the United States who were highly skeptical that they could work at all.
While the generals have emphasized that war is not a video game, Desert Storm has shown the enormous value of advanced technology. And that experience will provide the Pentagon with powerful arguments for more money for future weapon systems. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
One of the main architects of the success in the Persian Gulf is Defense Secretary Dick Cheney, and earlier tonight I talked to him, his office in the Pentagon, and asked how much longer American forces would have to stay in Iraq.
Well, we're there, Tom, for military reasons. We did not go with any conscious design on Iraqi territory, but it was necessary in order to do an effective job of expelling them from Kuwait and destroying their army. We obviously are in a position to stay as long as we need to, but we're not eager for any kind of permanent presence there. At the appropriate time, once we can resolve some of the outstanding issues with the Iraqis, obviously, we will withdraw our forces from occupied territory.
But could we be there as long as a month or 6 weeks?
I really wouldn't want to speculate about it, Tom. It's conceivable I could get instructions to withdraw in a matter of days, or it might take a little longer than that, but I We clearly don't want to do anything until we have a ceasefire arranged, until we've made progress in the implementation of the UN Security Council resolutions.
There is going to be an unsettled situation here in the Middle East for some time to come from a political and a military point of view. Won't the United States have to take a security role here larger than what it had before this war began?
We are prepared to be helpful to our friends in the area in terms of creating new arrangements, but we really think they have to take the lead in terms of deciding what kind of arrangements they're comfortable with. I would expect there will be a larger U.S. military presence, for example, in the Persian Gulf, where we've been for 40 years with naval assets. I would expect joint exercises. I would expect maybe pre-positioned equipment. But the President's made it clear that we want to avoid a major long-term ground presence in the Gulf.
Were there for you some real sobering moments when you had reason to have real pause?
There were times last August when I was very concerned because I was fearful that Saddam Hussein would not stop at the Kuwaiti border, but rather would come on down the Saudi coast. If he'd done that in the middle of August, he would have captured the airfields and the ports that we use to get our forces into the country. And he would have also controlled a significant additional part of the world's oil supply. We would have been in much, much greater difficulty in terms of trying to deal with the situation if he'd done that. That was a time of concern. Clearly, when the campaign actually began, the air campaign in the middle of January, another moment of drama. The first day's results were very impressive with only one aircraft lost. And then the beginning of the ground campaign as well. There were a lot of experts, most of them self-proclaimed, who predicted thousands of casualties and all kinds of dangers out there. But of course, it turned out that they were wrong, fortunately. And the experts that we had doing the plan out in Saudi Arabia and on the joint staff here with General Powell turned out to be right.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much, and I suspect you'll sleep a little more soundly tonight.
I will, Tom, and good luck in Kuwait City.